Hi everyone, welcome back to ITOM batch 5, day 18. How are you doing guys today? I hope I'm audible now.
Doing good, Ajay. How about you?
You're audible.
Yeah,
Good. How about
good. I'm also doing good. Thank you. Okay, I think let's get started. So again, before starting the today's session, any questions from the yesterday's or day before yesterday's topic which we have discussed? Any specific point you want to ask?
Yeah, Ajay, I have one question. I'm still not clear about one thing. In your case,
Uh-huh.
okay, so you are, using the virtual desktop, right? That's on Windows Server. So when the discovery runs, it only
So,
discovers the Windows
Ansari,
assets.
Ansari,
Yep.
Ansari, your voice is breaking for me, right? It's not clear.
Can you hear me now any better?
Sorry, come again?
Can you hear me now any better?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So my question was when the discovery runs, it only discovers the Windows assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, you are using the virtual desktop on MacBook on Apple device. So
Mm-hmm.
how would that detect? So
Sorry, not missed the last word, right?
so
I'm
how would
using a virtual desktop.
yeah? So how would the discovery detect your device, like as a Windows server or a MacBook? If Windows server, what details would it give? Would it give the details of the Windows or the
It's giving
MacBook
Windows
details?
only because it discover the two devices basically because one of my MacBook is connected to directly internet, right? On top of it, I install virtualization, and inside that on virtualizations or that remote server, my Windows server is running. So IP must be different for both, right? So my laptop,
Yeah.
which I have connected through internet, the IP might be 10.xyz, right? Or the virtual server which is running on Windows OS, the IP must be different for it, right? So if we are different discovering the both IPs with the different IPs, they are discovering the both things with the different OS. It
So
depends only the IP. It's not like, virtualizations is just we are discovering using the IPs only, right?
yeah. So in case of if it wants to publish the asset details like serial number, asset tag, and all those stuff. So like model number as well. So what details would it publish in the CI table or asset table or the hardware table?
So now it depends basically, right? Do we discovering the physical device or the virtual device? Virtual device have also a specific serial number, right? And on asset as well have, oh sorry, on hardware or physical machines, a different serial number, right? So it will populate based on that only, and it depends. In asset table, we are managing both virtuals or physical machines, so it will populate the bot. Let me quickly share my screen. One moment. Okay, I think
Yep.
then you are able to understand this one.
And also like the model, what would it
Ah,
give the model
uh, uh,
details?
okay, I'm coming to that point only. Okay, so example, I'm going to discovery schedule. Okay, and I'm discovering a IP which is Windows Server. Okay, that's the virtual machine basically. Okay, let me open it, and meanwhile, let's discover this one as well, the Linux machine. Okay, now both are discovering. Just let's wait for quick couple of minutes only.
Yeah.
It's classified as a Unix and might be it's also classified as a WMI. Yeah. it's classified as a Windows already now. Let's wait. Meanwhile, the device is discovering. Let me go to the CMDB underscore C underscore hardware dot list. So basically, that's one of the table which is capturing the hardware related data, means asset table basically, right? We also call CMDBCI hardware or CMDBCI asset as well, right? So if you
Yeah, yeah.
see, let me open this record, which is belongs to Linux server class, right? So if I just quickly open, see, so it's open in the CMDBCI Linux server. Basically, I just open from there, but if I open in the hardware itself, might be it's not opening. Okay. Why it's oh my bad. Sorry. Let me open different table.
No, no
CMDB
problem.
underscore asset dot list. Okay.
ALM asset, I think, right?
ALM asset, right? ALM hardware. My bad. I'm just, that's why struggling.
Yeah,
CMDBC
no, no problem. No problem.
ALM underscore hardware list.
I think it's just ALM underscore hardware dot list.
No, it's not capturing. Let me try once again. CMDB
Just
underscore.
ALM. Oh, ALM
Oh,
underscore asset
yeah.
dot list.
I'm opening the wrong table. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
So example, this is my hardware table where we are capturing the all asset related informations, right? So if I just quickly let me group by model category. Meanwhile, let's refresh this. Unix is discovered. Okay. So example, I'm opening a Windows server here. If it is a hardware, it's not a virtual machine, that will be discovering or means that will be capturing in the hardware table as well as the CMDB CI table as well, or CMDB CI Windows Server table as well. So in that case, if you see it's a hardware, the model comes like this: Lenovo ThinkServer TD230, right? If I open this, that's also captured here. The manufacturer is Lenovo, the name is this, and combination of manufacturer and the name will be showcasing in the model, right? Now that's populated here. If I the configuration item is related to that is this one. If I just quickly open this to this one, the configuration item, which is again going to in the CMDB Windows server. Here, if you see, the name is there, but it's created an asset with this informations where the asset tag and the model will capture model ID, right? So that's there. In the same way, because that's a physical machine, right? It comes through the discovery only. But if it is a virtual machine, right? In that case, we are not capturing the data in asset table, and it's still the model ID and everything is going to be discovered, right? So I'm just opening the Linux machine, which is a virtual machine. See, it's captured the model ID, Microsoft Corporation virtual machine, right? It's also get a serial number, right? It's also get a
Got it.
manufacturer,
Got it.
Microsoft Corporation. It's also created an asset, right? It depends. Basically, as I mentioned, for virtual, it depends to organizations, but my thing is saying, if you are discovering a virtual machines, couple of organizations are not tracking those virtual machines as an asset. Asset will be a hardware and that that component which have some financial conditions attached, right? Where we have to be track the complete life cycle of that particular hardware, as well as we have to be track the financial things for those particular things or particular device. So asset can be a computer, it can be in hardware, any type of hardware device, it can be a mouse, it can be a a different things, right? But in asset we have different other categories as well. Okay, so that particular virtual machine cannot be an asset. It's a virtual machine, but it depends like organizations out of the box service now says, yeah, you can track as an asset, right? So that's why immediately when I discover this, asset has been created. If I go here and if I open this one, that's created in ALM hardware table. See, Microsoft corporate virtual machine, it's created, but that's there is no use of it. We are not going to track the life cycle of the virtual machines from the asset side, right? Because that virtual machine on which physical server running, we are already tracking that one. Getting my point,
Yeah, yes, Ajay, yes. Got it, got
right?
it.
So that's the reason basically, right? So everything is also discovered in the virtual machine side as well. If I showcase you this Windows server as well quickly. Okay, yeah, yeah. See, this is again Microsoft Corporation Virtual Machine. So that's running on the Hyper-V, Microsoft Hyper-V. Basically, as I mentioned, there are three types of virtualizations, which is top-rated virtualizations capabilities softwares in the market is VMware, Microsoft Corporation or Microsoft Hyper-V, and the third is that Nutanix, right? So that is Microsoft Hyper-V, right? So that's discovering everything, asset, micro manufacturer, serial number, and all. Company assigned to or asset tag cannot be discovered for any type of devices, right? Because that's the
Yeah.
manual data. We have to be track it, right? So we have to be manage that one. And again, OS service pack, just let me ask you, why the OS service pack is not populated here? Anyone idea? Anyone have any idea?
Because this is Windows Server itself. This is
Mm-hmm.
because
Come
it's
on.
Windows Server itself. It's a Windows operating system.
It's a it's a Windows server itself, but why OS service is not populated? Means, let's take an example. You are showcasing this particular form to customer, and customer says, why OS service is not populated here? What do you say? Why DNS domain is not populated? So OS Service Pack is comes with earlier versions of the Windows, right? If you remember XP or 90s Windows, right? So where
Yeah.
XP version 2, version 3, and it's not comes with Windows 2022 data centers, right? And nowadays, whatever OS which we are using for the server side that don't have any specific versions, right? So there is no OS service packs. Basically, versions is there, but there is no specific service packs, right? Second thing, why DNS domain is not discovered? Because that machine not connected with the domain. That's OS domain showcasing it's a work group. So that's why no DNS domain is discovered. So sometimes what happens, guys, if customer is asking that information and we are not sure, and we simply say, so let me check why it's not discovered. It's issue and might be something is running in the behind. It's not capturing the. First of all, before that, I say we understand it's required, it's discovering what service now out of the box discovery things populating those informations, how that is going to be populate. So I think that particular things which I'm just discussing here, that we'll be discussing in next couple of classes related to the CMDB data modeling when we are discussing, right? So I'm not going to deep dive a little bit, but yeah, just we have to be a little bit clear about that, right? Okay, now any other questions from anyone else?
Ajay, can you come once again? Why it is not populating the OS service pack and DNS domain? Sorry for
I
asking
just
again.
mentioned, I just
Sorry.
mentioned, I just mentioned, you're not able to hear me that time?
No, I'm not able to understand. That's the reason.
Okay, you're not able to get it, right? So DNS domain, first of all, it's not populated because the machine is not connected to the domain. It's in work group, right? The like same our home computers, right? So means I might be you are using your personal laptop that's not connected to any domain, but if you're using your official laptop, that's connected to domain, right? So it's a like home computer or personal computer or personal server which is not connected to any domain. That's why it's not populated DNS domain here. It's in work group. Second thing, OS service packs not coming nowadays. OS service packs comes earlier when we utilizing or when we using this specific, Windows or I think Windows. I can say simply, Windows XP. If you remember XP Service Pack 2, Service Pack 3 earlier when we are using Windows, that type of one, right? So now that particular OS is deprecated by that Microsoft, right? So OS Service Pack is no more utilized, right? But because that CMDB and that particular things is designed long back, right? So that field is there. But when we are doing data modeling with the customers, we have to be little careful and remove those particular fields from the screen on the form, which is not relevant to the customer.
Got it, Ajay.
Okay. Okay, now I think let's move to the next thing. So, guys, today's topic is process classification, right? Now, let's take an example. You have discovered the complete virtual machine and quickly open this one as well, the dependency map of the device.
Ajay, I'm sorry, just getting back, one last question before we proceed. If
Mhm.
any of the device is connected to a VPN, so just let's say, the device is in India and that's connected to a United States VPN. So, which location
Mhm.
would it detect?
Which location?
Will it publish
I'm,
in
I'm
the
not getting.
as a CI?
I'm, okay, but location will be manually populated field. It's not coming through the discovery. It's not coming through the discovery. You have to be populate locations manually or through your discovery schedule. Whatever IP you are using in the discovery schedules, you have a field over there to populate your locations, and based on that location will be populated. Locations will never come through the discovery.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. So now let me showcase you this one, guys. I think yesterday I have created one more thing, but yeah. So I am on the Windows server. Now requirement is on that particular Windows server, a application is running. That is any XYZ application is running, right? And customer says, I'm not able to see that in dependency maps. So that can be possibility that process classifications has been not configured for that, or might be, that's coming in here, but customer says, no, I need to that application as well in my dependency map, right? So if you see example, if you see here, this Windows server connected to disk, port partitions, network adapters is again connected to disk here. And top of it, yesterday, if you remember, I just connected manually that particular relationships just to showcase you, right? But that's not the actual one. I just created through the relationships table, right? But if customer says an application is running in running processes, like example here, if I just quickly showcase you iTunes. So see that application is running here, iTunes, but that iTunes application is not visible or not available in your dependency map. So what should you do? Or any other applications? The first thing is you have to check the process classification for that, right? So I'm going to check the process classification first. Mhm. Processes. CI classification, and under that we have processes, right? So that's the, I'm just going to be remove this one, right? So that's out of the box process classifications already available here, which is service now provided. Like, if any applications running on any server, that will create a record in this particular table, and that will create a relationships with this particular device, right? So if I just quickly open, let me open Tomcat example. And that's nothing like, that's application a Tomcat, which is going to in Tomcat table. And the relationships automatically build by this is runs on runs, and the parameters are there, right? So parameters saying if parameter contain this, name contain this, or these in or all these condition must be met, like name start with Java, parameter contains with Java, jboss contains with does not contain with jboss. So that will classified as a Tomcat applications and create a relationship with that particular server, whatever it's server, right? It's not for Windows only or it's for Linux only, whatever server it is. If that conditions are matching, that will create a relationships. The same way here, if you see the let me quickly go back one moment. So whatever parameter, name, these are available here in the running processes, right? So if you see name is there, command is there, parameter is there, key parameter is there, and we have ability to find out whatever the application is running, right? So if example Intune application is running and we have to create relationships, we can come to that particular server running processes and find that applications through that, right? So simply we are able to create relationships, right? As of now, if I go to the dependency map, you are not able to see any relationships with any particular Intune iTunes application. So what we have to do again, we have to create a new process classification. And this is just all about the process classification is all about to classify that application which is running on that server, right? So if I quickly go here, and I think in the name side and all, I can put anything, right? So I'm just putting iTunes table or application name, because if we have a dedicated application table, like Tomcat, we have Apache servers, we have, and different we have, we can utilize the dedicated table for specific that, right? But if we don't have dedicated application table, we can use the application table directly, right? Now, quickly showcase you this one as well. Application, CMDB here. One moment. So my application, this CMDB CI applications, this is my parent table. Under that we have different classes, right? So if you see, we have ServiceNow application one is there, created ServiceNow mid server is there, Java servers is there, MS SQL database is there, Oracle instance, email servers, this and this. So these are the different classes or the child classes of the application, but we don't have a specific table for iTunes application. So I'm directly going to be mapped with the application table, right? So I have just put it application. What type of relationships I want to be do that? So it always runs on runs. Whenever we are going to create an application relationship with the, any server, that application or relationship site must always must be runs on runs. Now I need to find the conditions, right? So how we are able to find that? I will go again here and see name contains iTunes, right? So first condition will be name, because we want to find out the iTunes application, right? So name contains iTunes. I'm going to do that one condition here. Name contains, or I'm going to copy this one. I'm not putting exe, sorry. So, sorry. And first condition is name contains iTunes. And what should we avoid? Because name contains iTunes here as well in the exe iTunes helper or iTunes helper, right? Also in the parameters as well, right? So name contains iTunes is there, but in the parameters we have Intune helper or Intune helper, right? So what we don't want to capture that application. That is not the actual application. That's the helper application for iTunes, which is running on it and different PIID, right? So what we have to do, we have to put the parameter does not contain helper, because helper we don't want. So parameter does not contain helper. So I'm going to put one more condition, parameter does not contain helper. Okay, and there are different other ways to do that, right? So I'm just going with the easy one, but you can also do the same thing with different ways as well. So I'm just going to save this, right? So what other different way? You can write a command like command contains Intune, or parameter does not contain helper, or name contains, or key parameter contain Intune, parameter does not contain helper. Like that way you can do, or PID, but PID is something which is changing time to time, right? So PID you cannot put as a unique, right? So what we have did, we have just configured the process classification for iTunes application. You have already see there is no relationships created for iTunes applications here, right? But let's go and rediscover the device. It's a Windows. So I'm just rediscovering that. Let me close. So guys, that basically comes. Now the next step is to create the pattern for that. But this is just one first step to identifying or classifying any application running on any type of devices. So for that, you have to create the process classifications or the processes basically, right? And to put in the simple command, right? From here itself, you can trigger the props, you can see the applications, you can see the results, you can see the parameters and the versions, right? So I've just created one, so it's showcasing version 1. So let's discover this. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. Meanwhile, it's discovering any questions, any doubt in this particular one. How you are going to identify an applications or process classifications for any device.
So Ajay, now we are creating a process classifier for the iTunes. So whenever we are discovering other devices, if iTunes is there, it will automatically create a relationship, right?
Exactly. If any application or means any server, if iTunes is running, automatically that relationships will be created.
Okay.
Not every time you have to be built, because you have put it conditions in that way only. You are not put it conditions that for specific that server you have to be find out.
Okay. Got it, Ajay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's that type of process classification which I created here, that's applicable for any type of devices, right? Means Windows, Linux, AIX, CentOS, whatever your OS is running, if any application is running, you can come. If customer wants to, have a relationships and discover that one, You can come, the first step to discover any application is the process classification, to create a relationships, and after that you have to build a or create a pattern which you have to be trigger from here, trigger props, right? So that's the next step, but I will update you like how you are going to do that, right? So once your process classification is done, the application is identified, then automatically pattern will be triggered from here to fetch the more informations of that particular device. Because as of now, once that discovery is done, we'll showcase you, we are not discovering any attribute. We only just creating a record in the application table to make relationships runs on runs with the Windows server.
So Ajay, I have a question, Ajay. Sorry for asking again. So means these process
Go ahead.
classifiers will be
Mhm.
discovered in the classification phase of discovery, right?
No, no. That process classifiers comes in the last phase,
Ex-
exploration.
okay,
Why?
okay,
Because classification of the discovery is happening for the OS, not for the application dependency. Okay, so that comes in the last phase only. So that which the process classification CI, this is right here. That's this all classifications, CI classifications that will going to be triggered. Basically, that's related to infra, right? That if I just remove the process classifications, one moment. I've just filtered out one moment. So basically that's the complete table for classifications for all. If I remove the process classification from here, what else is left here? Means like SNMP classification, same classification, Unix classifications, that is going to be in the second step, which we called classification.
okay. Got it, Ajay.
Because we are on the second step on the classification phase, we are going to identify which OS is running on it, what type of credentials needs to be validated, and it belongs to which type of OS, like it's router or a switch or it's a vCenter or whatever it is, right? So that's OS classifications basically happening.
Okay,
Right, let
got it,
me
Ajay.
group by class one more. Yeah, so if just remove this one, process classification, remove this one. Apart from that, same classification is there, which is going to see if classification happening based on that table will be decided, right? So it's going to be in WPM service table or storage table or fabric table or storage switch table, right? The same way, if you see SNMP classification, right? So different type of classification is there, but it decides it's going to IP switch, router, UPS, PDU, firewall, equipment, ISM server, storage server, data power, storage, means there are different type of it, right? So 33 SNMP classifications. The same way, Unix classification is 7, like HPX, AIX, ESX, Linux, computer, Solaris, or IBM John. And then last is Windows one. So Windows have, end of the day, they are going to in same class, CMDB CI Win server, right? But the classification depends on the server OS which is running on it. Oh, okay. I hope you are able to hear me, guys.
Yeah, yeah, Ajay. We are able to hear you.
Okay. So, here it's, with Windows 11 3, 2000, and based on the OS versions, the classification happening and end of the day, that's are going to targeting to the same Windows classes, right? So that's the OS classification, which is going to trigger on the second step, which we call classification step. That is application classification or process classifiers that will be triggering in the exploration phase only. to build a relationships or application dependency mapping with particular device.
So, the last question. So,
I hope.
but in the
Mhm.
in the process classification, we are classifying the
Mhm.
applications that are running on the server or on the particular device. Is it correct? Means we are building
Yes, exactly.
relationships. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. Yeah.
If you see here, if I just opening this device, and if you see here, automatically when runs application is created, iTune at the rate ITOM DF Windows Server. So that's the name of the server, right? And if I go to mapping as well, give me one moment, guys. Let me, switch the internet. Might be it's, create some fall. Okay, I'm back. So if you see here earlier, if you remember, that relationships is not there, right? I showcase you this one is yesterday we have created, right? But that is not there, and it's runs on runs, which we have just created through the Windows server to that application server, right? And if I come back here and open this application, this is completely blank. There is no version. It's operational. There is no TCP port. There is no install. There is no description. So what we did only, we just create a record in the CMDB CI APPL table with relationships of that actual Windows server. We have not discovered any attribute. Now the next step comes from, next step comes, we have to discover the attribute and we have to create the pattern to get that attribute information, right? So if I just quickly go back here, let me refresh. Let me showcase you this one as well. Meanwhile, let me go to pattern, discovery patterns, right? So in discovery, again, let me group by this. There are 3 or 4 types of patterns available, right? The first, which you are able to see, application, that are specific for application. So example, uh, 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 process. Okay, it's process. One moment. Okay, process classifications. You can see Nginx, Tomcat, right? So Tomcat is identifying here, and this particular pattern is going to be triggered. If I just type Tomcat, or might be I can showcase you from here as well. See, so that's the pattern which is going to be triggered, which is name is Tomcat, right? If I come here on the discovery patterns, where it is, yeah. So you can see the pattern is there, Tomcat or Tomcat 4. There are 2 different patterns, but from that particular classifier, that pattern is triggered is Tomcat. So that the first pattern is going to be triggered, and there are different shared libraries also there, right? So if I just remove this one and let me take this like only, right? So we have 4 types of pattern. The first is application. If we want to discover any type of application which is running on any infrastructure or any infrastructure device type, we have to create or build application type of patterns. Okay, the first thing, always remember, don't modify the existing pattern. Always create new pattern or make a copy of that existing pattern and then modify it. Don't modify existing pattern. If you modify existing pattern and something change or upgrade by the service now on the release upgrades, you will be messed up. You will be face lots of issues. So make sure you are creating always a new pattern or modifying the existing pattern after copying it. Okay. Second thing is in shared libraries, right? Share libraries is again nothing, but these are that particular type of patterns which is supporting to the infrastructures plus application patterns, right? So it's just like that can be shared with every type of devices, right? So it's if you see AIX CPU, it's going to be in generic one, right? It's not going to targeting for any specific table. Second, third is infrastructure pattern, which is related to your infrastructure device. So whatever available in the market infrastructures, all are related to that, right? So if you see simple load balancers, LB8N, LBS, EIX server, LTON, AWS data center, cloud database, Azure data center, hardware, certificate. So any means it's that infrastructure means any infrastructure device like Windows, network, routers, switches, load balancers, anything. That particular pattern is work for that one infrastructure. And the last is fourth is cloud resources. That is specifically to discover the cloud resources for Azure, AWS, GCP, and others thing, right? It depends what type of pattern you are utilizing. Here, if you see Amazon, Azure, there are two as of now, it's there, right? But you can enable the different patterns as well when you are going to do that, the different things. One more thing which is most important related to the pattern before going to do that, go to the plugins, discovery and service mapping. Yeah, discovery and service mapping pattern. Open this one and make sure this particular plugin is up to date on your instance. So latest is 1.27.0. I'm not sure because that's not the actual machine or actual instance. So I'm not sure which one is installed here, right? But actual latest one is 1.27.0. So make sure that is discovery and service mapping pattern is installed on the your ServiceNow instance because and that should be updated in every 2 or 3 months by the ServiceNow. So make sure you have a practice to update the discovery and service mapping pattern time to time basis. Okay, and this because that ServiceNow pushing the new patterns from backend and that comes through that and that's going to be update the pattern of your disk for your discovery or service mappings, right? So four types of patterns is there. Application belongs to application works for application related, infrastructures works for infrastructures, shared libraries are there, and the cloud resources are there, right? And you have to update the discovery and service mapping pattern before moving or before if you are facing any issue related to the patterns and all. Any questions in that now?
So always we have four types of patterns only, right?
Only four types of pattern always.
Okay.
Not always means don't I'm not making a commitment here, but as of now means in I'm not sure in the future after 6 months service to introduce some new type of patterns, right? But as of now we have a four types of pattern.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions from
So
anyone?
from the Ajay, from the initial stage, they started with four different type of patterns, or is it like go down the line they have increased the different patterns? Like it
uh,
started with one,
I
two,
think
or
so there are three types is always there, like that I can say infrastructures, application, and the shared libraries, but the cloud resource is not there, right? But once the cloud is introduced, I think it's 4 or 5 years back, the cloud is comes in the
yeah.
market, and then discovery started for cloud resources, right? So then they introduced the cloud resources pattern. Before that nothing is there related to that.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, and that's going to be update on time to time basis by service now. Like, let's take an example, a complete new device or type of device is introduced by Oracle or any other OEM, right? Out of the box, discovery is not possible. Might be for a couple of time you will face the challenge. And if any customer is using, but if you have any issue, you are not able to do that, you can raise a idea with the service now. Sir, that type of device is introduced by service, this particular OEM, and I observed lots of organization is using. They can work, they can start working to generate a specific out of the box pattern. Till that time, that's out of the box pattern not generated or not enabled by service now, you can create your custom pattern to populate those informations whatever possible. Right. So I'm not saying pattern is even because we are moving to the pattern side. So pattern is something which you have to be built, but it's not like that every day you are have to be create a custom patterns. If you know out of the box pattern already available, if you understand the patterns, you can find the solutions to do that, right? So not every day you are going to create a custom pattern. You can have a visibility of out of the box patterns already, but sometimes you have to do means 20% is, you have to create a 20 or 30%, you have to create a custom patterns, and 70% will be possible through the out of the box patterns only. Okay, any other questions from anyone else?
Yes,
And
Ajay, one question.
Mhm.
So Ajay, when you mentioned about the process classifier and this patterns, so in discovery, once everything we have discovered, where exactly this process classification and this pattern comes in, I can understand that, okay, if existing patterns are there, we are not going to create any custom pattern. But
Mhm.
like in the process wise, I'm asking, when does these process we have to use, or once the discovery is done, or how are we going to use this process classification and these two things? I'm actually getting
Okay.
confused whether where in the process wise we are going to use it.
Okay. So see, I hope you are able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
So if you see, always only the four steps are there. Always remember this one, right? The first is Sesam, where we are checking the port connectivity, okay,
Yeah.
or the connection from mid server to the target machine. Second is WMI runner or the classification. WMI runner is specific for Windows, but actually we call it classification phase. In the classification phase, we are classifying what type of OS running on that particular machines or what type of device it is. So it can be a Windows, it can be a Linux, it can be a router, it can be a switch, anything, right? How that classification is happening? That classification is happening based on the ports, right? Example, here we find 135 ports open, then that's triggering the WMI runner to classify, and only classification done when credential is passed, right? So if port 22 is found here open, then Linux runner will be or I can say SSH runner will be triggered, and it's classifying the credentials is available for SSH. Means here we are only classifying the OS, right? Third is pattern. So when your horizontal discovery prop pattern is launched or identification section is started, then pattern is launched, right? So if you see, that's the pattern for Windows OS server is finding. Next is multi-prop application dependency mapping. Means in this particular one, install software application dependency mapping, we are finding or we are triggering the last phase of discovery, which we call the exploration phase, right? So here your process classifier is triggered to find out the application dependency. Getting my point? So based on that, that will create a relationship here with this Intune ITOM DF Windows. As I mentioned already, we have triggered that application dependency mapping and the relationship has been built, but still we are not able to discover any of the attribute. What should we do now? We require to create a custom pattern to get that information, and we are going to do in the next class for that how we are going to create a custom pattern to identifying or to discovering those particular informations.
Okay,
I
pattern
hope.
is fine. Yeah, pattern is fine. But what about
Mm,
to the process classification? Um like this classification point in discovery means the WMI runner that is going to just classify the credentials, right? So why exactly we need this process classification separately? Because that also we are doing some dependency, like if it's running on and we are going to put
You're
some
con-
condition and we are going to put some dependency mapping.
Vasant, you are confusing two things. I also mentioned there are two type of classification. One is CI classification, which is based on the OS classification has been happening, and one is process classification based on the application one, right? So this is process classifications which we just built, and these are the CI classification. Now, what is the use of the classification? On the first tab for the CI. If you see here, we have different type of OS. Okay. Example for that R machine, which is I think it's running on with Windows 2022 data center, right? If I come quickly here, if I open this one, here if that's a criteria to classify that particular one is if it is VIP equals to false, name contains 22 server, or OS full name contains server, then these are the four parameters or four patterns will be triggering. The first will be the horizontal discovery prop, which is identification section, and other will be triggering related to WMI install software, multi-prop ADM, or application dependency mapping, or ADM PowerShell, ADM enhanced, right? And that will be triggering in exploration section. So that's why the classification is required, because we have different type of it, and that can be possibility in 2022 OS server type. These are triggering, but might be on the 2016 or 2012 or 2012. That's not required. Might be there are different pattern needs to be triggered, right? So if I just quickly open anything, like let me open this one, the filter criteria is might be something completely different, right? So it's containing this one, and this triggering props are these again, the four, the same props will be triggering, but conditions might be different, right? So that's why we required classification. That's why we required to identify that belongs to which type of device. Same here, if you see, it's a Hyper-V, that's going to be in Hyper-V server, right? But end of the day, it's a Windows classification. Classification happening on the port 135 itself, right? But condition is, one moment, sorry. Condition is here, if criteria name contains Hyper-V or name does not contain without Hyper-V. So if that conditions are matching, then we are identifying it's a Hyper-V server. But end of the day, that's also running on port 135. And then we are going to trigger that same patterns also for that. Getting my point? So
Yeah.
classification is must required. This is for OS classification, right? And
Mhm.
that's done on the second phase of it. The next classification which we're talking about is process classifications related to the application, right? Now we have classified that's a Windows server. Now we have classified that's a Linux device. Now we have to be classified what applications running on that device, right? So the process classifications comes in the picture. For that, we just created one Intune. So Nginx application running, Tomcat is running, DB2 is running, or any different type. Apache server is running, Oracle instance is running, any instance, anything is running. We need to create a relationship or dependency mapping with that particular device, because
Yeah,
end of
Ajay,
the
here
day we
only
want to show
my
this.
doubt. Yeah, Ajay, sorry to interrupt. Here only my doubt
How?
was because for Windows Server, we have, I understand like for the OS, we have different versions and we are going to classify the server accordingly based on the version or anything. But this applications, for example, I'm asking you, will there be cases like if, for example, there is a Java space something, an application is there, so there'll be multiple
Mhm.
applications called Java spaces, and so we must classify it accordingly.
No, might be there is single application for the Java spaces, right?
Okay, then that is
This
that would be automatically discovered, no? Like once we
how? How? The point is how. Now let's take an example. No, you are using your laptop. Okay.
mhm.
You purchase laptop from the store. Did you get automatically all the software installed in it? No, right? You are installing the Microsoft Office, only the Windows OS you are getting in it, but you are installing MS Office, Teams, or other softwares, PDF and all, right? The same thing. If you are installing and now you are making changes on your laptop side, how we do know what softwares you have installed in your laptop, right? So to identifying what software installed on that your laptop, we are creating the process classifications.
Okay.
Get me? Right. So that's why I especially mentioned that is going to be triggered in the last phase, which we called exploration phase. That's why application dependency mapping is triggered specifically. We are creating a application dependency mapping with this, where it is, might be here. So we created this one here on runs with this particular application. Right, if multiple application is running on your device, how do I know what applications is running? We have to be classified first on that machine. Sorry, we have to be classified that particular one, and we have to create a relationship with your machine. Is
Okay.
that clear or still
Yeah.
confusing?
Yeah. Because why I was confused, no? This, you might be, in future it might be coming, but in service mapping also we create an application server and we discover the applications there as well, right? So
No,
I
no,
was just
no, no.
confused.
You are little. That's why I'm saying, don't include service mapping here. Service mapping is completely different.
But in there also we do an discovery, no, for applications.
Uh, uh,
So,
uh, so that's for specific application. Don't be confused with application word. That's for specific application. That's for specific, not application. We called that's for specific business service or application service, not an application. Okay, that's application which running on example, simple example. Let me give you another way. You have okay, you have a you have your laptop. On top of it there are a couple of applications running. Through discovery we are discovering that applications which is running on your laptop, but on service mapping side we are creating a top to down map for end user applications. Means on your laptop itself you are accessing airtel.com, or might be you are accessing google.com, right? And while you are accessing airtel or google.com, you are specifying to you're going to pay your internet bills or mobile bills. For that particular part or that particular service, we are creating service mapping. On that side we are not discovering that applications that's already discovered. We are just making a connections from A device to B device using the connection sections of patterns. So that's why I'm saying don't confuse with application, or sorry, service mapping. Here we'll discuss later, otherwise it will confuse everyone now.
okay, my understanding, it would be plain like for process classification as on an overview, it is like for discovering the applications. Can that be the
Exactly.
understanding?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, we discovered that application in the exploration phase, and mapping, it's runs on runs and dependency mapping we are doing by the process classification. Okay.
Right. It's just to showcase whatever how many applications running on your machine, and we are just creating a relationship, runs relationship with that particular. That's it. Or
Okay,
not
just
application,
one
just
more.
say simple software. In
Yeah,
simple words,
one
if
more
I say.
follow-up final question, Ajay. Now
Mhm.
consider we are finding iTunes application. For that,
Mhm.
we should know that, okay, we are giving a condition, no, on that OS or on that server, we would not know what are all applications running. Then how would we give that condition? Okay, it runs on, or
So, okay. So relationships types for every time, for whatever application or software running on that device is runs, right? We
but
need
we
to
do not
find
know if
that.
iTunes is the application before discovery. How would we know that iTunes is the application or there might be
So
different applications also on that
might be
OS.
Vasant, you are not hearing me that time. But what I'm trying to mention, why I
Okay.
specially mentioned, customer comes to you and he mentioned, sir, that you have discovered my machine, but on that machine, there are some application running on it, and this is the application. Can you please create a application dependency mapping with our machine? So, because we are not the God who knows everyone what running on that particular server, right?
Mm-hmm.
And out of the box, sometimes it's not discoverable, right? So, customer is going to mentioning that things to us. And if it is mentioning how we can do that, that's using the process classifications that I just want to showcase you, right?
Okay.
Customer comes you, okay, on that device, that application, if it is not in tune, if anything, like, if I go here, if customer says not in tune, it's let me go to the next page. It's that this particular one, mp.eng is running on my device. Can you please create a application dependency mapping, or can you create a relationships, because that's critical application which is running on my machine. I want to be tracked every time, right? Or might be something else. So we have to create a process classifications and discover it. Simple.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got it, Ajay. Yeah. Okay.
Right? So that's provided by the customer. But if customer provided us, like, you have to discover that machine, that application. Now our thought process comes in the picture, how we want to do that. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to come to the running processes. We have to find out that based on the information customer provided and put some conditions in the process classification.
Okay.
Getting the point? That's the way to do that. That's apply for everything, and that's available from the running processes.
Okay, Ajay, I got it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not, again, it's process. Say there is one more thing, software installation. I'm not discovering or connecting any relationship with the softwares. Right? So don't be confused. It's for process. Which process running on my machine?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I think guys, we are already over time. Any last question from anyone else? And let's do one thing. Let's do little research on that particular topic, process classification at your side. And if you need, we can do brainstorming on that one. And tomorrow I'm going to create or start creating the custom patterns for the Intune application, right? So now you see we have created a application dependency and that's discovered, but we have to discover the other attribute of it, and out of the box pattern is not available. So what steps we have to follow, how we can get that informations, we are going to discuss tomorrow on that particular part. Okay, I think that's all from my side for today. Any, if you don't have any questions, I think we can wrap up now.
Yeah, Ajay.
Sure. Thank you guys. Have a good day. We'll meet you tomorrow at the same time. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay.